Thanks to our sponsors. Goods and services used in the production of Hangin' Out with Dee were brought to you by
Hey guys, I'm Dee Harris and welcome to another episode of Hangin' Out with Dee. And guess who we have with us today? The amazing Bill Oakley, the one and only.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you for having me.
Yes, he's a furniture restoration expert and I've known you for many years.
Yes.
Back in the chamber days.
Yes, history from the chamber. Yeah.
Yes.
We had some good times there.
Yes, we did. So tell me how someone with a degree in journalism,
wow. Yes.
right?
I strayed from the path of journalism.
Strayed and decides to spend their life restoring furniture.
You know why? Because I think when you're young, you're not sure of direction always. And I'm a big believer sometimes in taking that time before running to college or something. But I went to school to learn journalism and maybe copywriting. My family was two sisters in advertising executives. My father was a photographer, did a lot of advertising and architectural. So I'm like, oh, maybe that's the path I'll take.
Yeah.
Not passionate, I don't think at the time,
path, yeah.
but I enjoyed it. I did like writing. I wrote like for the college paper some stuff, and I like writing today. To this day, I do like a blog on my website and stuff.
Yeah.
But I did that for the 4 years. Got the degree. Moved back from upstate New York down to New York City area, which is where I was. I grew up in New Jersey and New York, and took a job as like a script writing assistant for industrial films. Very exciting.
Very exciting.
It was a snore fest. It was so boring. It was like really, I was like, oh, that was where it was starting to get after like maybe the first month. I don't know if I'm going to be able to commute to work every day. Yeah.
Yes.
I'd get on the bus and go through the Holland Tunnel, and it's like, who needs that? So I did that for probably only 3.5, 4 months, and then I took a job in a restaurant because I worked in restaurants in college. That's how I always made extra money. And had a friend that was opening another restaurant, and he asked me if I could do some artwork because he knew I did art.
Yeah.
And that even goes back to when I was in the city. Back in the city, I used to do a lot of airbrush art, so I would do some of the street fairs.
Yes,
and do shirts and stuff like that.
Skateboards and stuff.
He opened this cool restaurant on the Upper East Side. It was like a electric cafe, like a 60s inspired Peter Max art stuff. So I did all these tables with all these really cool paintings and designs on airbrushed. And the guy who made the tables I met down in Lower Manhattan, and he had a wood shop. So I would go down there to get the stuff and talk to him a little bit, and I was really intrigued by it, and I liked the woodwork. And this was Bill Russell, and had a very well-established company there. Just four of us worked there, and I took a part-time job, worked in the restaurant still, because you needed to make enough money, And that kind of opened the door to doing the woodworking and learning how to, furniture's made and finished and things like that. And that even walked me into the restoration of antiques, because working on a job on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, I would park near this, it was actually near the 92nd Street Y. I would park near this old restoration shop on the street or in that area. So I'd go in and talk to the man. His name was Ed Burks, and it was like this Charles Dickens kind of shop. I'd always say like his tools were hanging around. It was a little dusty and dirty, and old furniture all over. And we would, I'd chat with him a little and say, would you ever like to teach anybody this? And he was really intrigued that I was wanting to learn that, because because I don't get young people ever coming in here with an interest in learning that. So he said, I'll hire you, and I think I got $5 or $6 an hour.
Yes.
But again, thank God the restaurants, because New York restaurants, you made good money, and I was able to survive that way. And I worked with him for several years in the city, and he taught me basically, he got me started on it. I think he gave me the groundwork, how to look at and do repairs, because when you're doing the finer antiques, and again, he had a lot of pretty high-end New York clients, Park Avenue type thing. So it was great to work on pieces that were like from the 15 and 16 and 1700s, and just touching them. I used to say the energy that's in there is so cool. So he taught me how to really approach them in the right way, because there are conservators of furniture which deal with like museum quality, and they would look at it a totally different way than a restorer.
Correct.
though I will not go into take a good piece of furniture and strip it down with chemical stripper and sand it and restain it. You know, that's not done. And obviously a conservator would never do that, anything like that either. So I think working with my hands in his shop and then in Bill Russell's shop, you know, between the two, I got a good background on working with furniture and wood. And then I liked it. You know, I would get books out. I'd borrow his, or I'd go to the library. I'd go down to try to think of the name of the big bookstore, the Strand in the city, because they had 3 miles or 5 miles of books. But I got all these old antique books, and I'd look at them and you know, read them and just try stuff.
So you literally followed your passion.
Yeah, at that time I definitely did. Yeah, it was one that really I didn't prepare for. I fell into it. Yeah, and it found me. That's a good way of saying it. It really found me almost more so. And I do give a lot of the credit that I started my own business to my wife.
Yes.
She was,
What's your wife's name?
Julie.
Shout out to Julie.
Hi, Julie. But now she was a really good instigator to.
How so? Go back a little bit. You said you met her when you were in restaurants.
I met her when I still worked part-time in a restaurant on the Upper West Side, a big fancy, not even fancy, seafood restaurant, Doc's, very popular, but she had come from Colorado. She grew up in California. She did some acting work and wanted to come to New York to get into more theater and stuff.
Yeah,
So she said, I used to walk past that restaurant and say, I'm going to get a job there. And then she did, and we met and just chatted and stuff, and we started going out after, you know, she made me nervous as, you know, the first time, like, you know, going out with somebody new. But, and we just hit it off really well, and she was very supportive, and she got behind me from the time, even before we got married, to start a business. Because the man, Ed Burks, that I work with, he was probably, I would say, his late 70s, even when I met him. He was probably 75, 78.
Yeah.
Got cancer, and after about 3.5 years, he passed away. I went and worked with him up in Pleasantville, New York, where he had a house.
Yeah.
So I would drive up there for the city even a couple of days a week to help him. And then after he passed, I'm like, okay, now I like this.
Yeah.
But, you know, to take that step and start a business is a big thing, you know. And a lot of people are like, well, when it's ready, when the time's right. And
when is the time?
And she was, that's what Julie would be like, you know what, this is the time to do it.
Julie's like, now is the time, yes.
And a funny thing we did at first, because I mean, I had no antique restoration name background, you know, people weren't going to be calling me. I had some customers that I had met through Ed Burks, but so I had an ad in the back of New York Magazine for the Shelf King.
Oh, yes.
So we, you know, do closet stuff like that, go in and put shelves up and do that in the city, and that actually did pretty well. You know, I joke sometimes. I said if I kind of focused on that, I could have been the California Closet Company or something, you know. But you know, that wasn't. It was more like
it wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't creative as much. Some of it was interesting, but I went back to the other wood shop and I worked with Bill Russell. And did that, and then we moved to Brooklyn because we couldn't get a space in Manhattan. You know, the prices in the city were crazy. So we found everything worked out really great. I think, you know, I like to say sometimes the universe will give it to you when you put it out there, and I do believe that.
Yes.
And we found a wonderful studio in Bushwick, Brooklyn, near the Williamsburg line. It was an old brewery building. I had the whole upper floor, huge studio. We had living quarters. 1880 building, very, very cool. I'd love to go back there today, actually.
And then that's how you got started.
Yeah, and that's when we had saved all the money we could, and we went for it. And I would put ads out and just, you know, network and never looked back.
Yeah. Awesome story, guys.
Thanks.
All right, guys, it's time for Dee's Life Questions. So, Bill, you talk a lot about Ed Burks, and you also mentioned Bill Russell. Yeah. What's the role of these mentors in your life?
Well, I think the influence they had. I think with Ed was his talent. I mean, he was really truly a good artist too. He restored paintings, and the furniture was something that I think he made more of his income from doing furniture restoration. But, you know, he taught me how to really study stuff and take your time. You don't jump in. He was very intelligent in so many ways, because I would sit and work, and a lot of times he'd just sit over at his desk as he got older, and he would just talk and great stories, and just talk everything about from history to modern day to furniture to styles. I learned a lot about early furniture styles and things from him. And he used to say, furniture is like fashion, and it changed throughout the years, going back to the 1600s even. Just like it does today, you know, whatever's in style, and usually the upper class will dictate what's in style, and then it flows down slowly to the middle classes. And But he was a good influence like that. And I think Bill Russell was a great influence just with furniture construction.
Yes.
You know, he's a really good furniture maker, designer.
Making it from scratch.
Making it from scratch, yeah, everything out of the shop. You know, we had the full set of the machinery and the tools and the saws and the joiners and planer, you know, and everything like that. So I learned good hands-on knowledge from him.
Yeah.
And I think both of them, and I'll even give a
big
shout out to
teachers.
my dad, who has passed away years ago, but he was his own boss also. So they were their own bosses.
Yeah.
And that appealed to me. I liked the control and the entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yes.
I think you know, there's a lot to say about having your own business. There's a lot of things you can do. And it's not that it's easy, but I like the control factor of it. I feel that I can steer my ship.
Yes.
I go where I want to go, and you know, I work as hard as I want to work, and sometimes harder. But,
and sometimes, oh my gosh.
But at least, you know, with what I do, I'm blessed to say that I like what I do.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time I go to work looking forward to it. You know, we all have days where you're like, oh, I'd rather not go in today, and I can take off. I'm the boss. I always say I have the best boss in the world. Though actually my wife's my real boss, Julie said. But
that's funny.
Yeah, so I think mentors-wise, that's what I learned from them. And again, even my dad, I think I saw growing up with him having his own business as a photographer. You know, I saw hard times too, but good times mostly. But I like that idea of being in control.
So you learned from your mentors the importance of running your own business, entrepreneurship. You learned building furniture from scratch, and also the secrets of restoration.
Yeah, I think, you know, not because when we do antique stuff, you really can't say, okay, you get the piece in and you just start working on it. You don't. You have to look at it. You have to study it. You have to obviously see the main problems that the piece is coming in for. But there's a lot of other related things. So it's not like you sit and be mindful about it, really, and you want to study it properly. Yeah. And make sure you're going about it the best way, the most effective way, especially in better antiques, which we do get a fair share of more or less high-end furniture. You know, people have collected from 18th century, which is, you know, that's pretty old. Wow. But you want to do it right, and you don't want to.
You don't want to mess it up.
Yes, you just really don't want to mess it up, and you don't want to affect the price in a negative way too, because the investment of it, people look at it for that. You know, it's an investment.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Good furniture.
So, what do you know for sure? This is a question that talks about, you know, if there was the apocalypse, if everything fell apart, what are those tenets, what are those beliefs that you have that keep you grounded?
Well, I think it's all about relationships. I think with people, I think that's the more important thing. I think honestly it's love, it's caring about not only those close to you, but everybody. I get real metaphysical on times. I love reading spiritual books, and I do feel we're all one in that. You know, it's an important thing to realize that, you know, don't judge other people. And
agreed.
You know, that old saying, you know, never judge someone until you walk in their shoes, but that's so true, let alone just judging people by the way they look.
Correct.
You know, we face this every day, and it's
correct.
And I just think if people were more caring and open-minded about stuff, with dealing with others, it's rewarding, you know.
I agree with you. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome, Mon.
Thanks.
Okay, guys, now it's time for I Don't Like That, Mon. All right, Bill, what gets on your last teeny nerve?
Well, I'll preface it and say I'm better than I used to be, because I used to let things bother me more, and I think, you know, I'm getting a little older, I'm mellowing out more, that I say, why am I going to let that upset me that much? Yeah. But one thing that still does bother me, and it's when people are in their cars and they drive aggressively and just without any care of anyone else. And it's like, I mean, I drive a lot, you know, when I'm out on appointments or even personal, whatever, and just the things people do, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
We always joke, I mean, even when I'm on my work van, we're sitting at the light and you see it, and you laugh at people because they're inching forward. I said it's like a drag strip.
Yes,
you know, when
it's
the
like
light's going to change and they're all
boom, boom.
And I'm always like, people are in too much of a hurry.
Yeah.
So I think the aggressiveness in driving is just a real turnoff to me, and I think people just, you know, be nice, let that person in sometimes. You know, you're not going to get there.
They're not even
everybody knows this too, but
yes.
But I don't let that even bother me as much anymore. It used to be. My wife said when I was a New York driver, I'd be like yelling out the window, and I learned not to do that because I had somebody come after me one time. But
you did?
Well, not bad, but you know, the guy says, "Yeah, what are you going to do?" But You know, it's like, it's their problem, not mine. That's what I've
Yes.
learned. I think Ram Dass says that when you see something that is bothersome, it's not your problem, it's their problem. You know, it's
Say
how
that
you
again.
deal with it.
Say that for our audience. Who is Ramda?
Ram Dass.
Ram
You know,
Dass.
when it's just any little annoying thing, it's
Yeah.
whether it's somebody the way they drive or the way they talk about other people or something, that is their issue and not yours. And now, if you want to express your opinion to them about it, that's sometimes a good thing, depends on the situation.
I
but
like that.
I don't let things bother me as much anymore. I'm finding that it only hurts you. Even getting annoyed, like in driving.
Yeah.
The other guy, he's gone.
Yeah.
You're going to be all
yeah.
mad for the next half hour for what? You
That's
know?
powerful
So,
stuff.
yeah, so.
That's good stuff. All right, guys, it's time for Say What? Okay, so Bill, as we all know, is a master in all things furniture, and he's going to give us some tips and some insider secrets today. All right, so let's go for the first graphic. Furniture is an investment. The secrets of being a smart furniture shopper. Okay, so let's talk about that.
Very true.
Furniture is an investment.
Very true. I mean, it can be a good investment as far as something you're going to keep for your life. I think that's a smart way to look at furniture. I mean, sometimes today it kind of bugs me a little bit, though I don't get annoyed, that people buy disposable furniture so
Yeah.
much. And they even say,
Yeah.
oh, it's disposable, you know, in 5 years I'll throw it out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but you're
Yeah.
filling landfills. It's not a positive outcome for it. Whereas if you buy pieces that are of better quality, even if you spend a little more and buy less, they're going to last longer. They're better made almost always. And,
Yeah.
and you know, age gets into that too. There's a couple other factors, but and then you'll pass them on.
Correct.
Which I see that's another thing. The heirloom quality is
Yeah.
disappearing.
Disappearing, yeah.
We used to see many more pieces come in that they just inherited it from a grandparent or you know someone in the family.
You're not seeing that happening
I
so much
see it
more.
still, but
Not as
less
much.
than half of what I used to. I mean,
Wow.
I would probably say I would easily see 100 pieces a year that were heirlooms, and now maybe half of that.
People are buying puzzle furniture now. You put this one
Yeah,
together,
you're not-
put that one
yeah.
together, screw it there, screw it there.
And a lot of them know it. They'll say to me, "Well, I know it," and I'm like,
I know it
"Yeah,
won't
but
last very
man, I can't support it. Sorry."
Yeah.
Whereas if you do, you know, as far as you don't have to buy, you know, the $10,000 piece of furniture and just say it's always going to increase in value. That's not the reason you do it. But if you buy something better, it will last you for your life, and that's even more of an investment than just saying the dollar value. Because the other thing, you can't always buy furniture and say I'm buying it because I'm going to sell it in 20 years and make money
Correct.
on it.
Yeah.
That's rare.
Buy
I mean.
something you love, but buy something of
Right,
great value.
right.
Correct. All right, next graphic. Fake versus real. Tell
Boy,
us about it, Bill.
There's a lot of fake stuff out there. When you get into antiques especially.
Yeah.
The funny thing with antiques, most people don't realize American antiques, American-made antiques,
Yeah.
are generally much more valuable. I mean, sometimes
Really?
3, 5, 10 times more valuable.
Than
it has to do
French
with
or
the
Spanish
yes,
or-
it has to do with the rarity because America is a much newer country. So they weren't really producing a lot of, I mean, there was pure pilgrim furniture and stuff in the 1600s, but from like 1740, 1750 on, there wasn't as much furniture made here as there was in Europe and all the
Okay.
countries, so you see a lot more. I think there's more of an appeal, especially for Americans, but it is worldwide, that American furniture has its roots, you know, in your history and stuff like that.
Yes.
But there's a lot of fake American stuff too, but European like crazy.
Really?
And nothing against the English people, but we get so many pieces in that we
Too
joke in
many
the shop,
fake
we're like
things,
scratching
Mom.
our head. It's like,
Are you
this doesn't
serious?
work. Yeah, there's a lot
And they
of,
pass them off as though they're real?
a lot of times, yeah. A lot of times it is done being a little devious. You know,
Wow.
there's all different characters in the business, and there's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
those
yeah.
like the used car salesmen of antiques. You know, they'll sell things. They're called married pieces. Sometimes it might be a 2-piece chest that has an upper bookcase or whatever cabinet. And you'll see, the moldings aren't the exact same. They're a little
Yeah.
different on the top and bottom. Even the woods may be, you have to learn to look and, be a detective, a sleuth in some of
Correct.
these ways to look at it and understand that if it doesn't look right or feel right,
probably
this probably
isn't.
isn't right. Yeah.
Correct.
And there's a lot of married pieces is the term
So when you
they
say
use.
married pieces, you don't mean that they're in love.
No,
You
no.
mean that it's a piece of old
They're
and a
stuck
piece
together.
of new.
Yeah, and
Stuck
not even old and new. They could be 2 old pieces. I mean, a lot of times you'll see the, for whatever reason, and sometimes maybe the piece got damaged and it lost its top half in a move. But, you know, there's a lot of reasons for it. Even drawers, we've seen pieces that the drawers didn't all match.
Oh my gosh.
From secondary woods to the show wood, what we call on the surface, you see.
That's scary stuff. Next graphic. Heirlooms, anyone?
There we go, my heirlooms, yeah. That's one of my favorite things. I like, you know, I think heirlooms are just such a part of a family in a way. You know, I call them a touchstone to your past, and they are. If you want to get, you know, spiritual about it, everything has an energy.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's pieces that, you know, your great-grandfather's desk, you know, roll-top desk, or, you know, these great, and they're beautiful pieces, most of them, very nicely made. They were all made, you know, by artisans back in, you know, the 1800s or whatever, early 1900s. But I don't see as many of those, like I mentioned earlier, and I think it's kind of sad to see a lot more younger people, and I hear this from my older customers, aren't interested in the parents' furniture. It's like, I don't want that. That's grandma's furniture or something like that. So I don't know the reason for it, honestly. I have some customers, but they're definitely the minority that will say, oh yeah, my kids are very interested in getting this stuff, so they want to make sure they even have us, you know, restore it so that they can give it to them in a good, nice, restored condition. Yeah. But there's not the amount of heirlooms that there were anymore, and it's kind of sad. Yeah. There's not a you know, touchstone, like I said, to your past.
Yeah, I get that. I get what you're saying. Awesome. Next graphic. Antique versus period furniture. There's a difference. What's the difference?
Yeah, because the term antique, and this is, I think, I'm not sure who does it in the government, the 100-year rule is basically it. So, you know, every year something else becomes an antique generally because it's 100 years old.
So furniture has to be 100 years old before it's called antique?
The technical term to be an antique. But period furniture is like, you know, people say Chippendale furniture. Now, Thomas Chippendale was a cabinet maker in England, and his furniture was, you know, 1750s, 60s into the 70s, around then, and he was he was a designer, basically, similar to Calvin Klein in the clothes market. And he was making furniture for the wealthy. He came up with styles. Chinese Chippendale became a famous thing because everybody was enthralled with all this Asian stuff that was being imported into Europe. So he developed styles, just like there was Sheridan, Thomas Sheridan, there was Hepplewhite, George Hepplewhite, there was many, many other names that were big, and people use those terms in period furniture. So if you have a period piece of furniture, if you have a Chippendale from that era, first of all, it's worth millions because the rarity of them is one of the things. Plus, they're just beautiful pieces. I mean, if you go to a
period furniture is not necessarily 100 years old, but it was made in a certain time.
Yeah, technically you're right. I mean, I would say mid-century could be called period furniture. Mid-century being the 1950s into the 60s. Even Art Deco, which still isn't yet, it's almost borderline antique, because Deco started in the French Deco in the 20s, basically. So, you know, in 2020, it'll be considered a 100-year-old antique.
And got it. That's good stuff. All right, next slide. Be a detective.
Yes.
All right, so you were talking about the importance of knowing good stuff, and then we're going to look at some pictures.
Yeah, looking at furniture, you know, it's a great thing to do. I mean, you have to have an interest in it, but I think it's actually an interesting subject, even the history of it. But if you go to a good museum too, whether it's the Wadsworth Atheneum in Hartford or the Met in New York has a fabulous collection. I mean, go to Boston, go to Philadelphia. But if you look at the best, there's a great book. Israel Sack was a big dealer collector from the turn of the century. His family's still in the business, but Good, Better, Best. It was one of my favorite books. I have like 2 copies of it because he shows in antiques. I mean, he doesn't show junky furniture. Here's a good quality one, here's a better, and here's the best. And when you look at them, it's just captivating.
All right,
let's
look at some pictures. I want to see.
Yeah, when you see the
workmanship.
What do you think about
this one? What is this?
That's like a French marquetry desk. It's incredible. It's got all the ormolu, which is all that gold brass.
What is it
it's
called?
Actually ormolu.
Ormolu.
It's bronze castings usually that are gold leafed.
Yeah.
But all that marquetry work, I mean, it's just
fantastic.
mind-blowing.
How much would something like that go for?
It depends. A lot of times it depends if it's a known maker. That piece could be, you know, 150 to 500,000, depending on who had made it. An average one you could probably find in an antique store. You might spend $15,000 to $20,000 for that.
Next picture. What do you think about that one?
Oh wow, yeah, that's a kind of an empire. I think it's a European piece though. But again, all veneers. I mean, the carving just blows my mind.
Yeah,
you see all the workmanship on it, and It's yeah, that's probably like from the 1850s or something.
All right,
It
let's look at another one.
Maybe French or
More
English.
shopping, more shopping. This one.
This
it
is
was
something trying to look
Amish,
old. Right.
Amish.
It's trying to look older. It's stylized with the painted doors that kind of is like that, like you even said Amish, with the
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Dutch painted
Yeah.
finishes on it.
But you wouldn't call that.
No, I'm pretty
similar.
sure that's not an antique at all.
Okay.
That's a reproduction piece made, you know, it's
Trying to
looking
trick
at
us.
well, not even. I think it's just taking the styles. It's almost like farmhouse furniture in
Yeah.
a way, that look, and you know, they stylize it.
All right, let's go to the last one. Caring for your furniture. How do we do that?
The old saying, less is more.
Yeah.
Really, really truthful. I'm not a big fan, and we constantly tell our customers not to use the spray polishes on them.
Do not use
Nah,
spray
it's-
polishes.
I'm sorry, Procter &
Do
Gamble. I'm sorry,
not
whoever
go
else
to the
produces it. I'm not going to say any
supermarket and
names.
spray on our furniture.
Well, because you know it doesn't. The best thing you could do for your furniture is dust it. Use a damp cloth. Use a soft cloth. I recommend not a paper towel. There can be a little scratching on the surface, but some
Get like a
T-shirt
soft-
type material.
Yeah.
We in the shop use. I buy cloth diapers, and I use those for buffing out the wax that we
No
put
way.
on furniture. Most antique pieces we wax. We put a paste wax on it.
Yeah.
They're buffed with a wax brush, and then finally buffed like the next day with a soft cloth. Puts a beautiful layer of wax that just glows on the piece. It protects the existing finish.
Mm-hmm.
The dust doesn't stick as much. The furniture polishes that are oily and silicone based, they make the dust stick to it, I feel. And over time, they actually collect in the corners. You'll see all kind of
create
little
layers.
dirt and dust.
Oh my
and
goodness.
it's not good for us when we refinish it. We have a lot of problems trying to get all that contaminated silicone and oil out of the furniture.
All right,
So
that's good stuff. All right, guys, now we're gonna see a funny video. Check out these
Mm-hmm.
puppies, these animals. So cute, so cute. So thank you so much, Bill, for
you're
being
so
here.
welcome.
You taught us so much.
I appreciate the time. I love
Yeah.
talking about furniture.
Yeah.
I do have that passion, like you
Yeah.
said. Yeah.
Furniture is heirloom. Furniture is an investment. Furniture is something you can pass on. Very, very good insights. So thank you very much for that. Guys, you know where to find me on Facebook, Hanging Out with Dee. And be kind to someone today. Bye.